Chairman Mr. Vinod Gupta also referred the National Steel Policy. I will further take a step from there, because it is a vision document in every conference, in every reference, that these topics crop up very frequently in National Steel Policy 2017. In National Steel Policy, we have envisaged the steel capacity of 300 million ton from the current level of 167 million ton. And we have envisaged a production of 255 million tons of crude steel. We are presently at 167 million ton. Last year, 2022-23, our steel production was around 127 million tons. So we are going, can we increase our capacity to another 163 million ton? Can we increase our production from 125 million ton to 255 million ton? I think these are very, very optimistic figures. But as Nirmala said that we can produce 255 million tons, I will little differ from your projections. I think if you see the present growth rate, we have received the JPC data 2 days back, and it says the steel production has increased 14.7% from April to September. And if you look into the consumption figure, it has increased 14.9%. So definitely, as Mr. Vijay Sharma said, that next decade is going to be a golden era for a steel industry. I fully agree. We will continue to have this sort of a growth rate, and definitely we will reach to 220 to 25 million ton. Again,
thank you, Vishwaji. Now I would invite Mr. Vishwadev Bhattacharya. I think very important pillar. He will bring in his views on the technology and what are the possible technologies for carbon capture utilization, how we can reduce the, and how this collaboration between the user and the technology can play an important role. Just for the audience, I want to just put this perspective in place that the technology will play an important role. This is actually a science-based target. You know, recycling, using renewable energy, making green steel, definitely that is one way of doing it, but it is not called science-based target. We have to deploy from medium to long term the carbon capture utilization, the hydrogen, uses of hydrogen, green hydrogen as a building block. I think these are the science-based target that we have to eventually deploy between medium to long term. And Mr. Bhattacharya is going to talk about more on these technologies. So over to you, Mr. Bhattacharya. Thank you.
CII for having me here, and thanks to the esteemed panelists here, Navinji and everyone. It's a good stage now to start talking about some of the technical solutions that we have on decarbonization. We've kind of set the stage since morning, and my role here is as a technology provider to show you, let's say, some of the pathways to decarbonize. There will be, of course, many slides, but because of the interest of time, I'll have to, just rush through it, and maybe we can take it offline. Normally, such topics take almost a day with my customers. So some of the facts and figures, just to rush you through, that we are still looking at about 70% of the production through coal. I think this was reiterated also, the CDRI process that was referred to. And as we know, we are not producing steel, we are producing double the CO2. So at the end, we are just having inefficient technologies which produces more CO2 than steel. And this is something that we have to do about. So 3.1 gigaton of CO2, 8% of the global CO2 emissions. So this is the global figure, baseline 2021. We see still a strong demand till 2050. So China will stabilize, as we all know. India, as we have seen in the discussions earlier, expected to grow. Also spoken about renewables, that we need to move in this direction significantly and this will result to about 70% of the energy mix by 2050. What is very important is if we make green
technologies, or someone is doing PhD, these are the technologies that have been implemented. So Kent is one of the example for Lanjatech. They are making bioethanol, and in our country, this plant has been recently connected to IOCL Panipat refinery. So those who want to go and see this plant, they can go and see this plant. It is up and running. So I think these are the solutions which we have from short term to medium term, and we have to embrace this. I think IRR and payback, definitely they are the important financial parameters that we all have to see and get the board approval. But I think if you have to see the overall perspective, the holistic solution on the table, I think these are must to have. We have to take leap of faith. This is so very important. We have to take leap of faith. That's why you see so many green steel projects announced outside India, across the world, where they are the incremental cost is 20 odd 5% higher than the base case for steel making, and that is getting offset with a lot of levers like carbon pricing and customer willing to pay the premium. So now with that as a thought, I would invite Mr. Gaurav Verma, who is the Deputy General Manager of Business Development and Branch Head from MS Rasool. He will focus more on the policies plus the carbon capture utilization, which the paper that they have formulated along with Niti Aayog. So over to you, Gaurav.
Everyone, respected seniors and dear friends, and good afternoon, sir, who has been my guiding force since I have been in steel sector. So here, I think everybody have agreed that we are sitting on a big opportunity. As far as steel production is concerned, we have to go leaps and bounds. But with this huge opportunity comes a responsibility, and responsibility is figured in this slide. Our quantum of action, what we'll do now in the coming days, will determine how much we'll have to adapt if this problem of decarbonization, global warming spirals out of control. So to start with, what's the beauty of steel industry? We have gases, we have gas processing, we have byproduct plants, which is the chemical units. So in all, steel industry is the mother of all the industry. Problem is CO2 emissions. Problem is not the coal. Problem is not blast furnace. Blast furnace gives us economies, which has been a strength of Indian steel industries. And as a country, we are blessed with huge reserves of coal, unlike many other countries in the world. So it is in our interest to harness these huge reserves of coal to improve our steel production. What's the problem with coal or fossils? Problem is not the fossils, problem is not coal, problem is not oil. Problem is only the CO2 emissions associated with it. So if somehow, if I am able to remove the CO2 emissions out of this process, I have a green process. Am I making sense? So let's start with the blast furnace. This is one project which Dastoor has carried out. This is a US Department of Energy funded project. So here in this project, we are capturing CO2 from the blast furnace. This is a 5 million ton plant of Cleveland Cliffs in Burns Harbor. So after capturing CO2 from the blast furnace gases, the enriched gas, we have removed the CO2 from the blast furnace gases, and this CO2 is being utilized for enhanced oil recovery and geological sequestration. So after removing the CO2, the remaining gas is a rich gas which has a higher calorific value, because in the water gas shift reactor I have enriched it with hydrogen percentage. So now in the remaining gas, the percentage of hydrogen is increased, calorific value has increased, but the quantum of gas has reduced. So the footprint of my downstream equipments have gone down, which is first a saving in capex. And by this rich gas we are using internally inside the steel plant in increasing the electricity generation to the account of 20% with hardly zero investment. And then an option has been kept for hydrogen production, because in the later stages, hydrogen-based steel making will become very relevant. So how we can be a enabling of large-scale decarbonization. UK, and which aims to be the first net zero ecosystem by 2040. And this is not based on renewables. Renewables, energy efficiency, process optimization, feedstock improvement, these are all ongoing improvements which are being taken care of in the past also, and they will continue, and these all will have an impact on reducing CO2 emissions, but maybe to the account of 25, 30, 35%. But after that, CO2 has to be removed, because in case of steel making, carbon is a part of process. And in India, all the steel making facilities are new. We have to operate those facilities for another 20-25 years at least. So in this, coming back to this, plants in India, they are surrounded by auxiliary industries. So these steel plants, 2.5 tons of CO2 per ton of steel can be a base load for large scale carbon capture integration in the steel plants, and which will in turn decarbonize all other industries, like in this hub and cluster model. Now coming on to the carbon capture thing, there are many myths associated that carbon capture is a very new technology, it hasn't been developed, or what will happen if CO2 will come out in the atmosphere. But mind you, from the 1960s, carbon capture is being practiced by oil and gas industries, and it is being sequestered and used for enhanced oil recovery. Almost 50 million tons of CO2 is being captured and sequestered. So this is one filed by International Energy Agency. So for steel sector, these are the plants which are in the various phases of development. Conceptualization, studies are being done, and almost 5 million tons of carbon capture capacity will come up. Overall basis, 100,000 million tons of carbon capture capacity is at various phases of development. So this is one potential which will actually not only reduce CO2 emissions, but will also act as an economic growth pointer for our country. So with this, I'll come back to the
insightful presentation, very interesting. So I think we have sort of come to an end for this, but I think we can take 3-4 questions from the audience.
As Indian ambassador in Denmark, Republic of Korea, Libya and Malta. Before such ambassadorial appointments, Ambassador Shashank was posted to key assignments in Africa, America, Asia and Europe. Ambassador Shashank is widely regarded as an architect of India economic diplomacy and strengthening relationship with Africa and East Asia. He is presently visiting professor at the Jawaharlal Nehru University School of International Studies and serves as chairman of the Association of African Studies in India. In addition, he is the president of the Indian Council for International Cooperation and India ROK Friendship Association. Ambassador Shashank ji is also an advisor to several.
है कि मोदी जी की तारीफ कर दीजिए, अमिताभ कांत जी की तारीफ कर दीजिए, तो सब ठीक हो ही रहा होगा। लेकिन जब वो आखिरी दिन निकल कर आया जवाब, तो मैं समझता हूँ कि इतना लोगों को प्रसन्नता भी हुई भारत में, और हमारे पड़ोसी देशों में जो खास करके एडवर्सरीज रहे हैं और बहुत चिड़े भी बहुत ज़्यादा है.
Of course, we'll be increasing usage of ferrous scrap in steel making, and of course, this is easier said than done because we know that end of life scrap availability in India is still quite low, and to sustain the kind of steel making scale that we're looking at, it's very difficult to rely on scrap, except just for a small portion of steel making. But of course, it is one of the very important levers, no doubt about that. Hydrogen, yes, hydrogen initially to partially substitute other fossil fuels used in steel production, but the hydrogen, of course, should be produced through renewable sources. India has a competitive advantage in this respect because of the rapid growth of renewable energy in India, especially solar energy. So, of course, hydrogen production and production of green hydrogen, the government, of course, has given a big emphasis on this. But it will take some time. The evolution will be slow and gradual, and the investments are of a very high order. And also the fact that the transportation and storage systems, that infrastructure has to be in place. So it will, of course, take some time. Carbon capture and storage, of course, one of the very important levers. There are experts on the panel who will dwell at length on this. But there are problems with carbon capture and storage as well, because first of all, the lack of geologic sites, proven geologic sites. This is also a problem with Japan, which relies so heavily on blast furnace steel production. Around 70% of Japanese steel production is from the blast furnace. And of course, CCS and of course US is a very important lever for the Japanese steel industry, but there is a lack of geologic sites, proven geologic sites for carbon dioxide storage, so that is a major problem. Another major problem is utilization, that of course to make it viable, the carbon dioxide has to be utilized to produce useful things, for example, biofuels and other. So alternative revenue streams should also come out of carbon dioxide utilization, and these are still unproven in the Indian context. And of course, from 2050 onwards, we can see the widespread implementation of hydrogen technologies. Sorry, there was a moment. So the next slide shows that how are Indian mills changing the metallic mix. Of course, as we know, this is going to be important going forward as far as decarbonization is concerned. So on the left-hand side, we see that in financial year 23, hot metal. This is based not on production. This is based on steel capacity. So we are over 150 million tons currently. So we see that hot metal comprises around 81, DRI 44, and scrap 26. To 2030, we see hot metal growing to 140. Of course, these are estimated figures. DRI to 65 and in million tons, and scrap to 45. Well, the scrap here is scrap only for steel making. We should not forget the scrap is also used in the foundry sector, but that is not what we are talking here. We're talking only about steel making. So mills are eyeing to increase scrap feed from 8% to 15% by 2030. Of course, this is a significant lever. But all said and done, hot metal will increase at a compound annual growth rate of 8%. And of course, coal-based, one of the major problems, coal-based DRI will remain prominent till hydrogen becomes commercially viable. One interesting slide here, so that how are mills increasing their use of pellets, both for production of DRI and for production of hot metal. So here we see that DRI, of course, at one point, the total DRI production in the country, 40% used to happen through, 35 to 40% used to happen through pellets, and the rest through iron ore lumps. But now the situation has changed. Now about over 60% of DRI production happens through pellets, and due to growing depletion of high.
These DMR grade plates are being used for underwater applications, for aircraft carriers and other ships, and all these things are being produced by the domestic players. So gradually things are changing, and with the focus on Atmanirbhar Bharat and to produce more of it in steel, more of the steel grades being produced in the country, this will definitely give a fillip to the domestic steel industry. Now my request would be from each of the panelists that what do you think that in what all products we can see changes in grades, in thicknesses, changing in the next 6 to 7 years time frame. I'll start with Mr. Vijay Sharma.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I think you mentioned about the quality. I will give you just two small examples. Indian stainless steel of Jindal Stainless is a part of Chandrayaan. So that is one of the extreme applications of the quality. Second example, you would be knowing about a project which is going on since last 15 years, ITER, International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor in France, being funded by 15 countries. It is a replication of how sun produces energy. It has got one single reactor which has consumed 3,800 tons of stainless steel. Two companies in the world have provided that stainless steel, and one of the companies is Jindal Stainless. So this is an extreme example. One third example I would like to give. We are touching your, at least men, every day, the plate steel. That also is stainless steel, extreme high-end application, and we are the largest. My point here is, from the quality perspective, from the versatility perspective, like we are producing more than 120 grades and variants. So perhaps we are the most versatile in the entire product range in the world. Now, specific to auto, I think that the world is changing so fast that this changing environment leads to the disruptive legislations and also the innovations. I will give 2-3 examples. Let's talk about auto. When BS6 came, because of certain compulsions, stainless steel industry was very happy. Higher grades of stainless going into the exhaust. So that made us gear up to meet those expectations and how to meet and beat the requirement with competition from Japanese and Koreans, and we all know how they treat the chemistry to maintain their monopoly, and we were very successful. But then environment changed, EV came, exhaust is no more. What to do? So we need to be very agile to the environment around us so that we are able to take the opportunities from, maybe sometimes it may look that, oh, kya ho gaya. Another example, my crystal ball says, the solar, you're all aware that solar manufacturers give a guarantee of 25 years, but they don't undertake the guarantee for the structure which is under the solar sets. Unko deni padegi. They realize it, life cycle costing will make the right choice of material so that both the things, they go hand in hand for 25 years. I strongly believe that the way the sensitization towards the stainless solution is coming, steel and within steel, stainless steel, they are going to play a very, very vital role. Those applications which were not even heard of, they will give us more opportunities. So inorganic growth is going to be there, and we need to get up.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay Sharma. I would like to add further to what you have mentioned is that you are correct to mention that in the solar cells, below those, the structures that is being used is of inferior quality. And now what is being used is in E350 grade, E410 grade, E450, and in plates it's going up to E550 grade. So we are seeing rapid transformation in the grades and higher grades being used so that the life cycle improves in case of steel. Similarly, when we joined the steel industry, that time Fe415 TMT was being used. In fact, that was not TMT also, that was Tor steel. And then now it graduated to Fe500, now Fe550. And I'm quite sure that some of the producers already started making Fe600 also. and this may give, we may end up producing more high-strength TMT bars in the construction segment also, which may go up to 650, 700 also. So gradually we will have to upgrade our steel quality grades so that we are able to sustain in the long run. Now to request Mr. Hemang Oza to give his views that in what all products he feels there are changes expected in the coming 6 to 7 years.
Thank you, sir. In my view, hello. Yeah. In my view, automotive industry and the infrastructure industry are facing two challenges. One is weight reduction in infrastructure by virtue of the steel cost. That if the lesser steel is used for the same strength, then it can compete with RCC. In automotive industry, because of the overall weight of the vehicle. So in both the industries, AHSS and ultra high strength steels are going to play a major role, and we have to work towards these two grades as much as possible. As Gupta sir rightly said that earlier 250 and 350 or 450 grades were considered to be the specialized grades. Today the YS up to 700 MBA is available, and which will reduce the overall weight of the vehicle as well as the overall weight of the infrastructure projects also. That will make the steel, the carbon footprints lesser, because less transportation is required, less steel is required. So overall carbon footprint of that particular project will go down, and that will make the project viable in terms of cost as well as the footprints, carbon footprints. That is one part. The second is the sour gas application, or the saline atmosphere application steel is going to play a major role. As the oil resources are getting depleted on the earth, we have started exploring the oil reserves in the sea, and which would require a different kind of steel, that is sour gas steel, which needs a specific chemistry to tackle the sour gas applications. In addition to that, a lot of structures are going to be installed in the sea. Again, offshore structures are going to be installed where the sour gas application steels are going to be used. Most important is the solar application as well as the wind application. Currently in India, wind applications is mainly onshore. No offshore wind mills are still installed, but the government has planned 20,000 megawatt plans for Gujarat and almost similar for Tamil Nadu, and this will increase. With this, the sour gas application material would be used. Unfortunately, we have not reached to, as Indian Steel Industry, we have not reached to that level wherein we can produce bulk sour gas steel. We need to work towards that area, and if we are able to work, we will be able to harness the potential of sour gas. In addition to these two, steel has a corrosion problem that is not there in some of the materials. So nanotechnology as well as induced steel as well as the coatings are going to, coating friendly steel are going to be what you call technology of the day. If we are able to produce the steel and invest some kind of R&D in coating technology, the steel will become more and more viable, sustainable and long-lasting material. Which will make all the projects viable, and steel will become better and better for the use of infrastructure as well as in other applications. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hemang. Now I would request Mr. Angad Kulkarni to give his views.
Yeah. So, as the question says, what kind of changes are expected in the coming years in grades and thicknesses? So I'd like to touch upon majorly 2-3 industries like automotive. Like Mr. Hemant has already told that advanced high strength, ultra high strength steels are being thought of by car makers. Just to give you an example, previously around 8 years or 9 years back, a SUV or a hatchback had only 10 to 12% of advanced high strength steel. Advanced high strength steel means any steel with more than 590 tensile strength. Now it has gone up to 50-60%, in some cases up to 80% in few Indian cars. For example, I can give you an example of Tata Motors, which has more than 70%. Likewise, there is a shift in the industry to move to advanced coatings, even in the automotive industry. Few car makers are moving from cold rolled to galvanized steels. This is a big change. Apart from that, on galvanized there is a passivation secondary coating. We are also investing in new coating technologies in our galvanizing lines to on galvanized steel, so that they are ready to form, ready to paint, and have good antimicrobial properties as well. Apart from automotive steel, the main advantage which steel has is the Young's modulus. The alternates to steel have very less Young modulus. So to compensate for this, they'll have to increase thickness. So that is not the case with steel. So you can go thinner and thinner, and with sufficient heat treatment, you can achieve very high strength. So that is one advantage. For example, closures of automotive vehicles are now going up to 0.5 mm thickness, which was earlier 0.8, 0.9. So that is only being possible because of the advances in technologies in the steel making and rolling, and the heat treatment facilities in the continuous annealing lines currently. So apart from automotive, there
also deliver money to their customer. How can they make some product like a car, which is safer, at the same time it is more fuel efficient. So they are demanding because their customers are demanding. So I think weight reduction, strength increase is something which I agree would be required. One point I would like to add, in addition to what my colleagues just mentioned, is the aesthetics. See, if we have to popularize steel, again coming back to our original topic, if we have to popularize steel, we should also be mindful of the aesthetics. The customer should feel appealed to use the material, particularly the color-coated steel, PPGI steel. What we see in Europe, the larger buildings, even small households, they are using the PPGI sandwich panels, roofing, and the clean rooms, and they are using different colors. While in India, largely we are limited to blue and white. So there would be immediate, I would see, as the economy grows, per capita grows, people will be looking for choices. They would be asking for wrinkle finish paint, maybe a cool roof which can help them to keep the temperature in control, which can consume less energy if they heat up or if they use air conditioning. If the paint should last for years, they don't have to bother about color fading. मेरे पड़ोसी का छत मुझसे ज़्यादा चमकदार क्यों? So we have to see all these aspects if we want to popularize these kind of steel. Otherwise, technically it's like operation successful, patient died. So if we make a product which doesn't appeal to a customer, then I think we are making a mistake. So keeping customer in mind, aesthetic is one of the important factor which usually we don't talk about, but I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amit. Now I'll come to specifics. I'd like to ask Mr. Vijay Sharma from Jindal Stainless that we see a lot of stainless steel being used in wagons, railway wagons now today, and this quantum is increasing day by day. This is one segment which has really taken the quantities on a high pedestal as regards to stainless steel is concerned. Which are the other segments where you feel that stainless steel demand will grow in the next 6 to 7 years?
Thank you for asking this question. And Angad, thanks to you for using the word corrosion resistant, which somehow got underplayed in this session so far. Empirically, many of us know that corrosion is eroding about 4% of the world economy. So this innocuous 4% is one Germany getting evaporated at the world level. If I see American economy, 3 apples or 2 Walmarts, they evaporate. So corrosion is the menace. I strongly believe that, again, it plays a very, very important part in that sustainable solution. So wagon is one example. Railway bridges are another example for the different versatile applications and characteristics which the stainless steel provide. If I talk about wagon, for the carrying the material like coal ore, then you need a material which can withstand that abrasive resistance. And also they are open wagons, they operate in different climatic conditions. So this looks to be the right choice. Similarly, in case of FOBs, we would not like to remember the Bhayandar mishap which happened about 6 years back. Such public utility services are such that we cannot afford कि इसको रोक दिया जाए, फिर रिपेयर किया जाए और फिर रीबिल्ड किया जाए. So there is a sensitization that we must have those solutions which last forever. To give this push once again on the life and life cycle costing, we have started an initiative in February this year itself to enhance the nation's mission on war against corrosion. We got into an MOU with CII itself, being led by CII Chandigarh, wherein we are trying to find the solutions among the possibilities like metal/material sciences. Solution could be a coating also. Solution could be a surface treatment also. But solution has to be life cycle based. And it has got the blessings of Ministry of Steel and also Niti Aayog. In fact, just on Tuesday, today is Thursday, there was a wonderful first competition pan-India wherein
confidence that the government and all the projects being announced will keep the steel consumption on the rising trend. So we have invested in our long products units in Ludhiana, which is a scrap-based melting unit. Also acquired Neelachal Ispat. So we are trying to increase the capacity there as well. Also I would also say that we are also seeing that in the construction industry, especially like Hemantji has said, that replacing RCC while tough, we'll have to integrate our architects and engineers also. While our discussions with our customers have always said that the designers are not aware of the welding and the steel grades required, we'll have to involve IITs and other academia to help increase consumption of high strength steels in construction. Although automotive is leading in this front, usage of high strength steel, automotive is one segment where steel is being used from, let's say, strength of 270 megapascal up to 1500 megapascal. It is a very versatile material and it is not easy to replace steel in such a big segment. Although the alternatives like fiber reinforced polymers, carbon reinforced polymers, zinc, aluminium and magnesium, while it is being used for very sport cars, for passenger vehicles, for a market like India, steel will always remain a choice of material for the car designers. As already explained, life cycle of steel, we'll have to look at greenhouse emissions as an overall basis. Steel always will remain a very low cost material for these designers. Giving an example, the greenhouse emission of the total life cycle of steel is 2.6 till the life of the car, let's say 15 years. If made with aluminium or magnesium, it will be around 50. So we'll have to look at that. So as Tata Steel, we have already explained earlier that we are looking to be close to 40 million ton by 2030. So we are having confidence in this Indian steel market to achieve this number. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Angad, for giving your views, and especially you mentioned that the steel that is being used in automotive sector, that cannot be replaced. That's quite heartening to know that we're giving such high strength steel to the automotive industry. Now I request Mr. Amit Chemberia from AMNS may kindly give his views.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, my fellow panelists. As everyone brilliantly explained, why steel should be the preferred choice of material, I would not like to repeat what has been said. I would like to take this opportunity to take you through the journey, what India is on, and what our competitors like China has already been through and how we can do something differently by addressing our challenges, our ambitions, and because every country has its own route or path, we cannot simply copy any other country's path. So just to give a sense, the steel has projected itself as a growth leader, and India remains the only bright spot. As we talk of growth of about 7.5% or 8% in India, while the world is struggling to remain around 2%. So, and we see that the per capita steel consumption has grown from about 66 or less in 2017 to now 76 plus in 3-4 years time. It is unprecedented. The sudden spark has not come easy. The government, of course, we have our requests from steel sector that what government can do more, but we must give credit. What has been done has not been less. It has resulted in that steel penetration in very short span. Government infrastructure, in terms of Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana or National Infrastructure Pipeline or electrification or tap water for each household or Gati Shakti. There are so many projects, pardon me for forgetting, Make in India. So that is bringing a lot of investments and giving not many jobs, quality jobs. And of course, these are all steel intensive investments, which is creating demand, growing demand for steel, and not only the base